All right, we should be good to go. Hello, my name is Lily, and I am one of your engineering peer academic advisors. And I'd like to say thank you all for coming to our presentation on just an info session about what it's like to be a peer academic advisor. On the call, we also have the other PAAs, Numayer, Maya, and Lorena, and they'll be here to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be in this position and talk about their experience overall. So let's get started. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, but we will have time at the end to address them.
Hello, everyone. So as peer academic advisors, we typically deal with a lot of different topics in a day. So here listed on the slide are 4 main topics that we'll see on a day-to-day basis. So the first one is the plan of study. As peer advisors, we help other students plan their next quarter classes, as well as answer any questions about major requirements that they may have. We also get a lot of questions regarding change of major. So we'll give students all the information that they need, whether that's what courses they have to take or any prerequisites or any major restrictions that they have to keep in mind for that quarter. We also have to do degree works updates, and that typically consists of updating community college courses or applying any technical electives to their degree works. And finally, we often refer students to other campus resources. So depending on their needs, we'll offer information on tutoring, studying abroad, internships, or clubs, and others.
So for when I'm Maya. I'm one of the other PAAs, and the main job responsibilities that we have starts in spring quarter. After you get hired, you spend a full quarter getting trained once a week on Thursdays from 5 to 7 p.m. And you'll be paid for those training hours. And that's a lot of time for you to grow your soft skills and refine your knowledge of the UCI curriculum and very specific training. Over the summer, there are some opportunities in the School of Engineering to help out for the SPOP orientations for freshmen, where you can help advise freshmen on what courses to take their first quarter at UCI, and kind of be a friendly face for them in the School of Engineering before they actually are on campus, or if we're online, before they're online. During Welcome Week, there's a convocation for all the freshmen where they are introduced to their specific departments, and we're usually the people walking those students to the School of Engineering. There's also a refresher training in late September that you'll go to kind of brush up on what you learned over spring and then be able to apply it on your first quarter on the job. And then once you're already an established peer academic advisor throughout the next school year, there are academic advisory council meetings, or AAC meetings, every Wednesday, weeks 5 and weeks 10. Those are 1-hour meetings that you'll be paid for. And then you'll have weekly meetings in addition to your academic advising hours that you do in the office. And you'll be talking with other PAAs and supervisors and just checking in about how your weeks are going as a PAA.
So the application process to apply to be a peer advisor, it should already be live. Let me just send the link in the chat as well. So that's the link to be able to apply to be an advisor. And so when you apply, I believe you specify the department as well. So if you're an engineering student, you can specify that. And this online application will be due January 14th. And once all the applications are sent in, the engineering department will review the applications and choose some of you for interviews. And the interviews will happen during winter quarter. And usually it'll happen with our supervisors, which are John and Caesar. And also one of us might be there as well if we're happen to be working at the time and be available for it. And like Maya mentioned previously, if you're accepted to be an engineering PAA, the training will be beginning in the spring quarter.
Wonderful. Are there any questions from any of the people in the audience so far? If not, we will go into questions directed towards our PAAs to talk about their experience. I'm sure questions will pop up as we go. Oh, there's something in the chat. Oh, no questions so far. Awesome. Glad we're being clear. So our first question is going to be, why did you choose to become a PAA? I can go first. So I'm a senior this year, and this is my first year being a PAA, but my junior year, I had just finished my presidency for the Society of Women Engineers. I plug it a lot, so if you're not involved and would like to, please reach out. But at that time, I had learned so much about the different resources on campus, and I wanted to do something similar to that position going into my senior year that is giving back to the engineering community and kind of giving all this knowledge that I had accumulated and acquired to individuals who might be in my classes. So resources like that I acquired through that position, and simply being in supplemental programs like Trio Scholars and Sage Scholars really helped me understand the ins and outs of the campus. So I wanted to continue giving back my senior year. So I decided to apply out of a whim, and here we are now, and I'm really enjoying it. So I highly recommend it if you're on the fence. But yeah, it was more about giving back to the community.
I can go next. So my story about why I wanted to become a PAA actually kind of relates to my experience at UCI as a student. So I actually started out as an electrical engineering major, and I wanted to switch into CSE, computer science and engineering. And if y'all don't know, CSE is quite a difficult major to get into because it's between two schools. So if you're an engineering major, you don't really have priority for any of the CS courses. So and even after I got into CSE with much difficulty getting the classes that I wanted, there was always like a lot of problems for CSE majors, because since it's between two different schools, the communication isn't always like fully up to par as it would be within one department. So there's like a lot of like issues that come up, like course conflicts and things of that nature. And I had a really, really difficult time like dealing with all of that. And it ended up making me have to come into the advising office a lot and see the advisors as well. And I thought, man, like I want to be able to make an impact and to be able to help students who deal with issues like I do, because like I understood the struggle firsthand. So just seeing what the advisors did to help. Caesar, who's in the call, he's our supervisor. He was really, really helpful, and like he actually was the one who helped me to switch into the major. So I just thought it was really cool. And the reason I wanted to become a PAA was to be able to make an impact on the community in that way as well.
Okay, I could go next. My reason is kind of similar to Meyer's. So I came in as an undeclared major, so I had to switch into engineering, and that process for me was very difficult. But luckily I did have a lot of people along the way, whether that was like other students already in engineering or the different advisors that I had to go to. They were all there to like help and support me in my journey. So, and like in the process of me trying to like switch my major, I had also like gone to the career center, and I had gone to the counseling center, I had gone to tutoring. So I felt like I had a little bit of like knowledge myself on like the different resources on campus. And so when I saw the application to become a PA was live, I wanted to see if I could get a position, because I wanted to be that person for somebody else and be able to share like my knowledge and my experiences to comfort like another student who may be in a similar position, and just kind of like remind them that, you know, they're not alone and it is a pretty difficult process. So yeah, I wanted to be that person for someone else.
And mine's pretty similar to everyone else's. I was that freshman who would like walk into the advising office and be like, you told me I had to do that. I have a very specific question that I need answered. And they were like, okay, calm down. Like, we'll be able to answer your question, but like, we're students too. I remember walking in and seeing the peers and they like helped me work through the weirdly specific questions I would ask that didn't have, they were like questions about my third year, and they were like, you're a freshman, you need to like try to get through the first quarter first. And then as I wasn't that involved, I'm a year younger than the 3 other PAAs, so I'm a junior and I have another year on campus, and I felt really disconnected from the campus community my whole sophomore year because it was completely online. And at the end of winter break, midway through my sophomore year, I was like, I think I want to try to get involved. And being a PAA was what I chose to try to get involved with. And it was really great because even if we are online and even if we are remote, I loved doing walk-ins or shadowing another full-time advisor, because then the students that I'm helping are able to recognize my face, and then in classes can reach out to you and they're like, oh, this person, like, she's got her stuff together, I'm going to be friends with her. And it was really nice to have people, I guess, come up to you, or you to go up to other people and say like, oh, hey, I heard you like asking questions about your degree, I can help. And you can jump in on group chats or in discords with your friends and just be a resource for people. I've also had a couple instances where I have friends text me a degree question and I'm like, I'm at work right now, but if you hop on Chat, I can help you real quick. And they did, and it was great. And there were just questions about their technical electives and senior design projects. And it was nice to feel that like sense of community, even when we were remote. And that was what I was missing before I applied to this job. So even if we are online or if we're in person, it's a really great way to build a sense of community within yourself and feel like you belong somewhere.
Those are great answers. Our next question is, what skills have you learned or improved on as a PAA?
I can go first for this one. So there's quite a bit of things that I learned and improved on as a PAA, but I'd say the one that I've like that feels the most applicable going forward is that like if you're planning to go to like I guess a job that involves like working on a computer, making appointments, using Outlook, mail, just like there's like a lot of like things involved there that I feel are super helpful, like just working with other people, scheduling meetings, using Outlook, like what I mentioned, and like email etiquette. I feel like there's like a lot of professional soft skills that are developed while you're a PAA. Like, for example, I had an internship this past summer, and like the things that I would have to like probably look up or like try to like learn for the first time, I'd already like kind of learned as a peer advisor, like you know, how to use Outlook. I keep honing on Outlook, but I think Outlook's actually super important because it's used a lot in like professional life and stuff. And obviously just like workshops like this as well, like just developing your professional self, like your soft skills, I think are super important because it's not always like innate to like a university experience, you know, like if you're just studying or like even if you're in clubs, you're not necessarily always doing everything professional, right? So the soft skills I think are definitely where I improved in as a PAA.
Top of Namar's resume, pro in Outlook. That's what he's gonna write after this job. Mine are also kind of more soft skills oriented. I think I'm a pretty timid person naturally, and reaching out and helping people, especially when they're asking questions that I'm not entirely sure that I know the answer of, is a big skill that I've improved on, both doing in-person walk-ins fall quarter and working Chat and remote walk-ins. A lot of students have very specific situations, and it takes a specific skill to know. You don't have to know the answers to everything, but it's helpful to know the resources that you can refer people to so that they can work on finding the answer themselves or referring them to a specific person who can help them. I think that was the biggest one that I was worried about coming in as a PAA, and that's definitely the one that comes to mind. Yeah, I think developing those interpersonal skills when there's so many different people coming in on Chat with so many different backgrounds and so many different questions that are across a broad spectrum of things you might be asked to recall on. Knowing what resources to refer people to was a great skill that I think I'm definitely going to be like using in future jobs or anything else like that.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. For me, I think the stuff that I've learned the most is mostly like the communication skills and public speaking. So as peer advisors, like we really have to communicate with each other and with our supervisors because we share like job responsibilities or even just planning something like this, like a simple presentation. Wait, sorry, my internet is like cutting off. Can you hear me? Is it good? Okay.
Yeah, your connection's fine. Yeah.
Okay, my computer is like freezing. But yeah, just like communicating with like this stuff, like our presentation, like we have to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. And then with public speaking, as peer advisors, every quarter we try to have workshops. And so those presentations, you know, involve us, even if it's just through Zoom, it does involve speaking to other students. And especially because it's on Zoom, like sometimes you can't see other students' faces. So it's just like us staring at each other. I mean, it can be quite scary. So yeah, and I think it's important. What I do like about this job is that I've been able to improve those skills because we are learning all of the technical skills that we need for engineering in our courses, but we can complement that with the soft skills that we are learning in this job. And again, like engineering jobs do require a lot of group work. And so it's nice to have that practice here.
To go in a little different route, I think for me, I've been able to be very creative on this job. A lot of creativity comes with like making the flyers or finding ways to give information out to our student body. So I feel like the peers and I have been very creative in the ways that we have been presenting ourselves or the ways that we have been portraying certain information. One thing that we have in the works is a PAA tip of the week. So we have been able to vocalize creative ways to just give out knowledge and kind of give resources out to our fellow colleagues and peers. In addition, I also
Lily did actually cut out.
Thought it was me because I turned off my VPN.
Would you turn off the VPN at the same time?
Imagine.
All right, I guess.
am I
Repeat everything you repeat everything once you get it. Repeat it. Oh, she even got dropped. We can't all have great internet, okay?
I know, I'm sorry, y'all. But basically what I was saying is there's a lot of creative aspects that come with the job. I think that's something I didn't expect at first, but I have been able to be creative and find an outlet to kind of give out information to different people through creative means, such as different flyers or using Instagram to our advantage. And then in addition to that, I also wanted to add that something that I personally struggle with is trying to stay calm under pressure. So especially with chats, when I get like this paragraph upon paragraph of just bulk information from individuals and their situations, like being calm, kind of receiving all information and not being afraid to ask for help when it's a very specific situation for a student has really been something that I have improved on. So just staying calm under pressure and like taking time to respond and not feeling like the need to respond immediately, like taking my time to process stuff. You can all see my screen, correct? Yes, perfect. All right. So the next question is, how do you manage responsibilities outside of the office?
Does no one else want to bite the bullet? Or Maya? Maya, go
No,
ahead.
you can
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I answer the last one first. You go ahead.
Okay. I think that's an important question. I'm also a LARC tutor for the physics classes here at UCI, as well as being a PAA and also being an engineering student. So this job really helped me refine my organization skills. I think I have the tab open now, but I always have Google Calendar open where I write down my hours for this job. I write down what I think I'm needing to get done during this shift or during my LARC tutorials and things like that. And making sure that when I'm looking at that Google Calendar, there is time for me to have like relaxation and time to decompress, because it would be super easy with this job, and if you're doing another on-campus job, to just let all of your time be taken by various things school related. And it's the people that you're working with and the supervisors are really great at reminding you to practice self-care. The hours, I think, were very flexible with this job. It was really nice to be able to Slack message my supervisor and say, hey, it's midterm review season for LARC. I need to update my hours real quick. And he'd be like, yes, that's great. And it was a really nice work environment to be able to manage stress and communicating well, that I also have outside responsibilities and that I also want time to decompress a little bit.
Yeah, I think the good thing about this job is that it isn't like too demanding on time. I don't have another campus job like Maya, so yeah, props to you, Maya. But yeah, the good thing is that it's not like too demanding on time, and also they are pretty flexible. So again, like during finals week, or if you have like an emergency, as long as you're updating everyone and you give them a little bit of time, it should be okay. But again, like Maya said, I also use a calendar like on my computer all of the time, and I just write every single thing that I need to get done that day. I'm also a really big fan of like to-do lists. Like, even though that sounds like super simple, like just scratching something off of my list is like, it's super motivating for me. But with the calendar, it's like, especially on Zoom, I think sometimes I can get confused, like what meetings I have for that day, or like everything just gets kind of jumbled up. So just having it on there, and then having like my phone remind me, and like getting a notification is a good way for me to stay organized and not miss anything.
So for me, I would say, like Maya, I do have another job. And luckily that one's on campus. So going from one job to another was like a 5-minute walk. So when we were in person, I would do that. But I think right now, because of our whole hybrid situation on campus, it has facilitated my ability to use remote work as a way to like kind of balance out my life. So a lot of the times I would sometimes take like a work from home day on Fridays, and I was able to do all my classes and my work at home in the comfort of like my couch. So that really helped, because I didn't have to account for travel time, and everything was just like on my computer, and I could quickly go get a snack if I wanted to, or quickly go use the restroom without feeling like the guilt of leaving a classroom or leaving like the office. But overall, I think there's a lot of like open communication and lots of flexibility with hours. Trust me, lots of flexibility with hours. So it was very manageable because of that work environment they have curated for us. Meyer, are you okay? Good.
Yeah. I'll cherry pick a little bit off of everyone's. I think my biggest takeaways, that like what I agree with, is with Lily, she was mentioning about like she's adapting to like the hybrid situations. So I've actually been a peer this is my second year being a peer. So I was a peer during the 2020 to 2021 school year as well. And that was fully remote, of course, right? So moving back to the in-person hybrid model, it was a little bit of adjusting. Actually, a lot of our things had to change a little bit because for example, when scheduling appointments in 2020 year, there were no in-person appointments. So like the way we had to send out emails and the directions we had to give students, like it changes over time, right? So like you just have to adapt to whatever the circumstances are, right? So last quarter was hybrid. So sometimes I would work in the office, sometimes I would work out of the office. And then I just basically chose whatever was like more convenient for both the team and what was more convenient for like my own schedule as well. Um, Also, Google Calendar, I think it was mentioned by multiple people. Google Calendar is your friend. Google Calendar is the best thing ever. And if you're not on Google Calendar, you should be, because it's amazing. I'm looking at my Google Calendar on my other monitor right now. It's like is a big part of my scheduling. So like it helps to manage like the work hours here, and also like if I have project work later in the day, or if I have a lecture, or if I have other obligations, or even just for simple reminders and stuff. I think Google Calendar is very helpful for managing schedule. And yeah, like everyone mentioned as well, our supervisor is super flexible, super understanding. They know that we're students, so whenever anything comes up related to school, like for example finals, midterms, whatever it may be, we're always like able to prioritize that as well. So like overall, this job is very rewarding, and it's not like I don't think it's overbearing though by any means. So if you're interested, don't let that be like a deterrent, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yes, I agree. This is a really amazing job. I personally love it a lot. Then going off of that, what is your favorite part about being a PAA?
I can go. So I think I have like two things to say. So one of my favorite parts about being a PAA is I really like getting to connect like with a student. Right now, well, when we were in hybrid, we did have like walk-in hours that were outdoors, and so we did get to like meet people that way. But even now, like during Zoom, if we get like Zoom walk-ins, while we're working on whatever the student needs, like we do still have a little bit of time to chat with that student and like get to know them, even if it's like a short amount of time. And it's really like, I think I really enjoy that about this job, because sometimes I like kind of trap myself in a little bubble with like people that I know, and I don't get to talk to a lot of people, but I do get to meet a lot of people when I am working, and I really enjoy that. And another part is sometimes when like a student will just be like, thank you, just like to thank you and say that what I told them or like my advice was really helpful, and that they do feel comforted by what I said. It really like makes me happy. I'm like, wow, I did something good today. So yeah, I think those are the two main things.
I think the best part about this job is that you've been trained on how to advise somebody. And so you have a lot of the technical knowledge that maybe a full-time advisor has, but you can pair that really nicely with your own student experience. And that creates a really unique way for you to give advice to a student. A freshman might come in on ZotChat and say, hey, I'm trying to enroll in 24 units. And you're like, why do you need to do this? Because that sounds like a lot of units. And then you're able to talk to them about your own experience as a freshman, saying like, I took 14 units my first quarter, and that was great. And it helped me ease in to being a college student. A lot of what I think was most helpful for students that I've helped in person and remotely was being able to, I guess, say that like being able to say what I did as a student and how I was able to be successful, so that they can learn from my successes or from my failures or my mistakes. That was, I think sometimes they would be they would be super surprised that I was so helpful, which was a little bit insulting. Like, I'm here to help you, but also they'd be like, you're really making an impact on these students in a way that they didn't foresee possibly. So yeah, it was really rewarding. And I think those types of interactions where you're able to combine being a student and your own technical knowledge on the catalog and on plans of studies is really great and really rewarding.
I think my favorite part about being a PAA, is kind of like a combination of like different things, but like if I were to like put a broad brush on it, is probably just like the impact that you can have on like your fellow students. So obviously there's the community as a whole, like anyone who comes in to the office, it feels rewarding knowing that like if you're able to help answer their question or make their academic like just make their lives a little bit easier by helping them with your academic advice. That's super rewarding. And I guess like a nice perk is like you become a little popular with your friends because they always like will come to you like asking you questions or just like hitting you up like, hey, like do you think this is a good idea, or like and then like for some of my friends I've helped, I have this weird hobby of like I like planning out like 4-year plans, even though technically as peers like when we like are on the job, like our main thing is to like help with like next quarter advice, I guess. And like the full 4 years is usually handled by like the full-time advisors. I still personally find it like a puzzle to be able to like look at all the prerequisites and like plan everything out, so like I like doing that for my friends, and it's technically not a job responsibility, but it like just it's a cool title, it's a cool job. It's nice to have. So it just being able to help people, like help your friends who are in your major, being able to help your friend or just people in general. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part about being a peer.
For me, I feel like being a peer academic advisor, I'm like in this in between of being like a student, but also like an advisor. So I feel like I'm a secret agent when I'm in like the discords and I hear all these people complaining about like lack of resources or lack of knowledge on a certain like specialty. And having this position gives me like the power to create resources for them. For example, like in the fall, we started to notice that there was a trend with all of our students doing remote or Zoom classes. They didn't have outlets or they didn't have a space to have their online courses or to take their online courses. So the peers and I compiled a list of locations that they could go take their online classes in, and that I feel like really helped and supported our students. So I think that was super awesome, and seeing all these like resources that students were needing, we were able to kind of address them and provide them on a large scale. And then in addition, kind of like what Lorena was saying about the walk-ins, it's so like fulfilling to be like in a conversation with someone and notice like the moment that they go from like this panic mode to this relief mode because they're talking to someone who understands them as a student but can also provide knowledge of that like an academic advisor can provide. So seeing that switch in people when you're helping them one-on-one is really beneficial and super fulfilling. Yeah, go ahead, Numair.
Sorry, what Lily said like really reminded me of another really cool part about this job that I really like. So like I mentioned earlier, being a CSC major at times has been a little difficult because sometimes you get the short end of the stick. Like you have like a CS and an engineering class conflict at the same time, and there's nothing you can do about it but pray that one of the classes gets moved. One of the cool parts about being a peer though is you get to directly advocate for like yourself as well as like your fellow students. So like I just having that impact and like sharing like the problems that students of a certain major might be facing, like when it comes to just like policy, curriculum, whatever it may be, enrollment, just being able to advocate in that way is something that's super cool, because like just getting involved like that it's very rewarding because you see that it directly helps people. And I guess it kind of does go with what I was saying before about being helpful in general, but yeah.
I think a specific example of what Numair was talking about was this past quarter, I was putting together as a student, I was putting together my schedule for this current quarter. And I noticed that CASA, the department that manages our scheduling and our class times and class locations and things like that, had accidentally scheduled over half of the discussions during the lecture time. So they were going to be wondering why there's no students being able to register for those discussions because they can't the web reg won't let them register for something that's at the same time that directly conflicts. And I was able to email the person who handles that and put it on their radar, and they were able to fix it. And it was really nice to kind of save them the headache and have it come from a peer and a professional student, as opposed to a bunch of panic students. So when they were trying to register for classes, you know, the problem was already in the works to being resolved. And that was really cool.
Also, I would like to say that all of the academic advisors and everyone who's under the engineering student affairs, we're all in the same Slack channel or Slack workspace. So we get to have like the inside scoop sometimes on like certain things that are happening. So it's always nice to be like in the loop. And then when seeing like individuals complaining like on a Discord being like, I can't enroll in this class, what should I do? Just knowing like, hey, they're working on it, and giving them that reassurance is always nice. Also, on a more selfish note, one of my favorite things about being a PAA is having direct access to the academic advisors. So especially at the beginning of this position in training, I had a bunch of like random questions that would pop up, and I would just message Caesar and be like, hey, I have this question, oddly specific, can you help me? He would provide me answers. And even when it was a little bit more personal, like my personal schedule, I could like have Christy with me at the walk-ins and be like, hey, so I have a question for myself. And she would gladly answer all of it. So a little bit more selfish, but yeah. All right, so our next question, and oh, sorry, wrong way. And our last question for our prepared Q&A panel is, what is the best advice you have for incoming PAAs?
I'm gonna go first because I know that the other peers are probably gonna say the same thing, and I want to get the first shot at it. Don't expect to know everything. Like, you're not going to know everything. You're always going to be learning every day. So like, don't be like afraid to ask questions, and like just like research before like, you know, I guess panicking that you don't know something, because like it's, even if you learned or have come to know something, it's impossible to like for the human brain to be able to like remember and like track everything, you know, like you're going to forget, or sometimes you're not even going to know, because maybe the information, or like you're just like, a lot of engineering students, they don't come with like the easy questions all the time, right? Sometimes the questions are super niche and super like not like actual common scenarios. So maybe like even some of the like the full-time advisors would need to like look it up, like what's going on, right? So like yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, and yeah, just go in with it like with confidence that like if you get selected for the role, you're there for a reason. So yeah, that would be my advice.
For the record, I was not going to say that. What I was going to say was be yourself. When students come to you specifically, it is really powerful to me as a reminder of like, oh, I'm different than the full-time advisors. The peers are different than the full-time advisors in the sense that we're also students, and we have the best perspective to give advice from a student's perspective. And I think as you'll learn and, you know, build this like, I guess, Rolodex of knowledge about how plans of study and degree changes and degree works updates, as you do that, and you're able to also like be welcoming to people coming into the office if we're in person, or able to look at somebody who's standing outside at our outdoor walk-ins looking a little bit confused, you're able to be a friendly face for them, and they'll remember you, and they might come up to you and say hi, and then you have new friends. So yeah, always just be yourself, because that's what the students are looking for.
I'm going to piggyback a little off of Neumeyer's answer, but yeah, so don't like put too much pressure on yourself to like know everything, because again, it is impossible to do. But I think the more important thing is to just know like what resources to use to find that answer. like you don't need to know everything, but you do need to know where to find it. And then that takes a little bit of pressure off of you. And I think another thing that I also learned was that sometimes I don't know the answer. And so I have to reach out to somebody else. And sometimes that takes a little while. So I can always just tell a student like, hey, I can, reach out to you a little later, maybe like via email, or you can come back on Sot Chat, or just give them like a couple of different options instead of like me panicking and like saying something really quickly just so like I can give the student some answer. It's always important to just kind of like take a step back, like don't panic, and like make sure you're really thinking about things, because you don't want to give someone, the wrong answer. I'd rather just like ask for the help and do it calmly and then give them the right answer.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of y'all. I think for me, the biggest advice is having patience with yourself, and just knowing like there are resources, there are people out there who have answers that you might not be like readily accessible in your head, but being willing and able to ask those questions and reach out and not be afraid to take some time from like a full-time staff to ask questions. It is super key to being successful in this role. So with that being said, I will open it up for an open Q&A. If anyone in the audience has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat feature. But just remember, applications are due this Friday at midnight, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure the application has a couple of essay questions for you to answer and a couple of more demographical questions like your GPA, your name, your major, that you can answer quickly. I
Caesar,
personally don't.
someone in the chat asks when they will know whether they qualify for an interview. Do we know that?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I
Maya?
think probably it'll be a period of time where you'll get reached out to ask to do an interview, which will be around from January 24th for that month, January 24th, February 24th, and then final selections and notifications will be February 25th. And then that's when you would start the onboarding process, which is just like housekeeping and getting paid for your job and things like that. And then training starts right after spring break or beginning of spring quarter. Yes, you'll need to submit a resume in the application, just a one-page resume, nothing too long or extravagant.
If you do need help with your resume, the Division of Career Pathways has a lot of good resources for you to take advantage of, and it's free. So something to keep in mind if you're struggling with it.
Get that link. Any other questions?
Isaac, do you want like our personal LinkedIn? Is that what you mean? Or like the
Yeah, like do you mean like the department,
PAA?
engineering department, or do you mean us? Both? Well, I plugged it low key earlier, but I'm gonna high key plug it now. This is our Instagram. You should follow that. So we do a lot of posts there. And in terms of personal, well, I guess that's up to the other peers if they want to share theirs. Let me see if I have mine. Second. Here's my LinkedIn.
Look at us networking like professionals.
Like, get your connections.
Are there any other questions about the job, about our experiences, anything you want to ask in the time being?
Oh, nice. Fellow Trojan, Uni High.
Is that the high school that's nearby campus?
Yep.
Okay. They're always flooding the Starbucks when I'm there surveying.
I always remember seeing floods of Uni High kids Friday at In and Out after the football game. That's usually where you see the hordes of them.
Yep.
Have a good one, y'all.
Yeah, Allison, go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Hi, I have a question for, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, Numer.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you were a CSE major, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a current computer engineering major, and I'm trying to switch into computer science engineering
Mm-hmm.
or software engineering, but I'm stuck between the two. So far, I've only heard inputs from software engineers, and they're pretty biased about it. They keep telling me to switch over, but I haven't heard anything from a computer engineering major.